Hello, and welcome to the third edition of the Next Man Up podcast. We apologize, this episode is coming out later than planned because we had to record on Tuesday night instead of Monday this week because I was busy on Monday night. And then Jacob's Adobe crashed while we were recording on Tuesday night. So then on Wednesday, we had to re-record, picking up where Jacob's recording ended. And then we ended up with almost 3 total hours of recording. And so we decided to split it up into 2 episodes, this one being the first. So ignore Jacob's preview that he has at the beginning of this episode because we aren't going to get to all of it in this one. I'll probably hold on to the next episode, episode 4, for a few days to kind of spread out the days that we're uploading a bit. But yeah. This episode, we will go over week 6 of the NFL. We talk a little bit about Nebraska football starting up, and we also talk about the NBA GOAT debate and where it stands now after the 2020 season and LeBron's 4th ring. But yeah, then the next episode, Jacob and I will share with each other our way too early power rankings for the 2021 NBA season. And we also get into a new segment we call Hot Takes with Jacob. So be looking forward to that. Like I said, should be coming out within the next few days that you're hearing this probably. But yeah, before I let you go, I'm going to make sure to remind you to like, comment, and subscribe, and follow the Spotify feed as well. But yeah, we would really appreciate any comments, and we would like comments that we can kind of treat like a mailbag or like with mailbag questions. And if we get a handful of them, we can do a segment over them. But yeah, that would be really cool. So just any questions you may have for us. It doesn't have to be sports related, but I would appreciate at least a couple NBA ones every once in a while. But yeah, without further ado, I'll let you guys get into episode 3.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Next Man Up podcast. I am Jacob Roth alongside Logan Wortman.
Yo.
Yeah, so we are here, episode 3, I believe. It is currently October 20th in the year of our Lord of 2020. So we are not recording on our usual Mondays. It's Tuesday night. But Monday night, when we usually recorded, gave us some great, juicy stories to talk about in the NFL, which we'll get to here in a little bit. We're going to break down the NBA. We talked about it a little bit last week's episode, but we're going to go through more in depth of the whole GOAT conversation and just kind of LeBron as a player this past year. And then we're going to go into some way too early power rankings for next year before we get into the draft and official free agency. So we got a pretty exciting show. We're excited for it. And let's just jump into it.
Yeah, for sure.
So what we started doing is we're trying to keep it like a conversation because we think that gives us a good feel of the show. But we are going to, I sent Logan a couple questions just kind of about the NFL and what he thought about it. So my first one was, did you watch any games, Logan?
I did actually watch 3 games, which granted it wasn't like start to finish, but it was, watching it while it was on with people around me and stuff like that. And that was, it was Cardinals, Cowboys, Niners, Rams, and Chiefs, Bills. Those were the 3 games I watched, and they were all pretty entertaining. So
no, they were all pretty decent games because that's the 2 Monday games because the Chiefs Bills played a Monday afternoon game, and then that was the Sunday night football, wasn't it? The Rams 49ers.
Yeah, Rams Niners. Yeah.
So that was the Sunday night one. Yes, I also watched those games on top of more. I was driving from South Dakota, so I was driving and I had the audio of games playing because watching TV and driving is not healthy for anyone.
Yeah.
So I had the audio.
I also had fantasy players on all their teams. So
yes, implications. I forgot about that, but yeah. So this was a pretty decent week in the NFL. It was a lot of fun to watch. That leads. How did your fantasy team end up doing, Logan?
This was actually a really good week for Team Lojo Woe in fantasy football. I actually scored 140 points, which was by far the most in my 12-man league. I think second was like 109. But just my luck, I actually scored it, had such a good week where I popped off against a team that I really didn't need to pop off against. Because the person I went up against was the 10th placed out of 12, and they scored 70.
Yeah, I feel like that always happens though. Like your team never goes off when you need it to.
Mm-hmm. But then when you don't need it to, it does. Yeah. But I had Derrick Henry who went off for like 38. I had Kyler Murray who went off for 29. Steelers defense, which I had Tampa Bay's defense too, which they scored 20, but they were on my bench, and Steelers D scored 19 while they were in, so that was good. And then also Justin Tucker went off and he scored 16 points for me, which I actually took him pretty early in the draft just because I remember last year he scored a lot for somebody I went against, and I was like, I'll take a kicker pretty early. I took him like the 7th round. So, but yeah, it was a good week. Even though I had my starting tight end, he didn't score any. He didn't even play.
Who'd you start at tight end?
He was Miami Dolphins tight end. I don't remember his last name. It's like Gretzky.
It's not Gorecki? Gorecki? Hold on, let me look it up. I know it's weird. It's unique.
Yeah.
He didn't play.
Well, maybe he did play, but he had scored 0.0. But
wait, did Miami even play this week? Yeah, they did. Gesicki.
Okay. But yeah, it was weird. I had a starter score 0, and I still ended up with 140 points.
That's wild. That's super wild.
Yeah. But yeah, it was a good week. I'm climbing the ranks. I'm 500 now, 3-3.
Cool. Still, because you were like, so for those who are just joining in, this is your first episode. Thank you for joining us. Logan has had quite the year with fantasy where he always scores a decentish amount of points, but he always runs into the guy that scores like the second most that week. So he's like not had a lot of luck in the win column, but it's gotten a little bit better for him as of recent. Yeah,
now I'm second in total points in the league, and I'm also second in points scored against me. So I'm 3-3.
Yeah, that's highly unfortunate. Yeah. But is fantasy has your team hasn't been hit by COVID too bad, has it?
It hasn't. It really hasn't. Other than I had the Derrick Henry game, but I since it told me soon enough that was going to be a bye week, so I was able to switch in and put in like Melvin Gordon or whoever,
Yeah, get things flipped around for sure.
Yeah.
And then did you see any like from the games you watch and stuff? Did you have any thoughts on this week overall as just the NFL?
I would say like watching the Cardinals game. It seems like they have. This is just like a uninformed NFL viewer take.
I'm gonna go not uninformed, not an avid watcher.
But I guess for me trying to get into it, I'm trying to like kind of gauge these teams and how good they are and what like the narratives are behind them and stuff.
You picked a terrible year.
And I did.
Just because of COVID, nobody's identity really sticks.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So but with Arizona, it seems like they have a really stacked offensive team, is what it seems like to me. Just from like some of the guys that I see out there, like Kyler Murray, it seems like he's known to be a really good quarterback.
Nice at least, young offensive piece, yeah.
And then they have don't they have 3 wide receivers that are all pretty? Like they have Hopkins, who's one of the top ones in the league, isn't he?
Yeah.
And then they have Kirk and Fitzgerald
or whatever. Oh, Fitzgerald! I can't believe I forgot about Larry Fitzgerald and brought up I think it's Christian Isabella or something like that.
Christian Kirk?
No. Andy Isabella. Who's he was a rookie last year, played okay last year. I forgot about Larry Fitzgerald.
Yeah, but I guess it just seems... Yeah. That is crazy. But I guess it just seems weird to me that team has 3 wide receivers that I know their name well. I'm like, oh yeah, that guy, I know that guy's good. It's just weird. But they're still what are they, now 4-2, which I guess isn't bad, but it seems like they should be better than they are.
They should have be 6-0. They lost to a bad Carolina team because they played bad, and they lost to a terrible Detroit team. But they got a really solid win today. So, not today, Monday.
Monday, yeah.
Which was yesterday.
Oh yeah, we're recording a day late this week.
Yes.
Just because scheduling, but we'll continue to crank these out on a weekly basis.
No, for sure. And I think that's all I had for you, unless you had any more.
Yeah, I got some questions for you.
Here we go.
Let's see. My first one is, do you have a breakdown of what happened in New England versus Denver?
No comment. Okay. So I'm a New England fan. For those that don't know, just tuning in, I'm a New England fan. It's because I believe it was the 2008 or 2007 NFL draft, the New England Patriots selected a middle linebacker in the 6th round with the 197th pick named Bo Rude from Nebraska. That's why I like New England, and I thought the N was for Nebraska and not New England, so leave me alone. It's not a bandwagon thing, okay? With that being said, yeah, I have no clue what happened. They didn't practice, which hurts a lot.
Oh, yeah.
And I will bring this up later with the coveted, as I've heard, as a fan favorite. Hot Takes with Jacob is making a return this week, and I will talk more about that disaster of a game that I was able to listen to. Just because it was like Denver didn't score a touchdown, but still scored 18 points, meaning 6 field goals were kicked, and some of them were long field goals. And the Patriots' deep passing, there's a couple takeaways, because that's what you asked for.
Mm-hmm.
The Patriots' pass defense is fine with short yardage man-to-man, but when you do their deep, they struggled. Oh, but they got late picks to keep them. They struggled the whole game until the end. The offense was hard to watch. And I understand that you lost 2 linemen to the COVID list, but it was hard to watch that offense operate. At the end of the game, the only plays they could make work were trick plays. And that is a problem. Fun fact in the NFL, if the only plays you can make work are trick plays. And great job by Drew Lock. He didn't get any touchdowns, but he put his team in positions, didn't really mess up until the end of the game. So, Denver went out and won that game. New England played like crap. I don't want to make excuses, but they didn't practice, and obviously it shows you practice is important. But I am irritated with a certain person, but that will come up more in Hot Takes with Jacob.
All right. And a kind of a break-off question from that is, so how confident are you now in the Patriots season, or how does this affect your confidence in the Pats season this year?
Okay, so I've got a T-shirt that says, "In Brad we trust," referring to Brad Stevens. It's like a black shirt with the Celtics thing. Honestly, I'll probably try to send a picture of it to Logan so he can flash it on the screen for those of you listening to our YouTube. Thank you for listening on YouTube and or Spotify. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell button, all those things. Anyway, it's a shirt in Brad we trust. I have a very similar philosophy with the other Boston area team that plays football in Bill we trust. I think the Patriots still got it. Seeing the Bills look like potatoes against the Chiefs this week, I think the Patriots struggle, don't get double-digit wins, which is a weird anomaly for them. I think they go 9-7, and they squeak into the playoffs because the AFC East is going to struggle.
That's a bold prediction.
It's a little bit bold because people think that Buffalo's going to run away with it, but I think Buffalo's going to start coming down to earth. But I think the Patriots will still be either in the playoff hunt or a playoff team. Not a good one, but they still will be. But yeah, that's where I'm currently at with my Patriots. But I'm still there. I didn't leave. I'm not like the weird. Have you ever noticed now that there's no Cleveland Cavaliers fans anywhere?
Yeah,
It's
or Broncos fans, which I was about to bring up. But I remember, I guess I'll just jump into this now. When I was a kid, I loved the Broncos because I thought their logo was cool, and Champ Bailey was my favorite player.
Which out of everyone you could pick that's a random person, but like I've always known it. Like I've always known it. It's cool, but it's just like a random. Like he was good, but like nobody's like, you know what? I'm gonna pick my favorite team based on a defensive back. Anyway, all you.
Yeah, I don't know. He was just my favorite player. He had one of the top 5 fastest 40 times in the combine. So, yeah, he was always my guy. And then, so I was always a Denver Broncos fan when I was a kid. And then when Peyton Manning came and the Broncos were like title contenders, everybody just became Broncos fans. I remember, like everybody was just wearing Broncos stuff all the time everywhere in Nebraska, and I was like, "Hey, what the heck?" Like now, when I wear stuff, I feel like I'm a bandwagon because that's it's just how they're good right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I understand how that feels. You probably feel that a lot with the Patriots, but
well, yeah, and I'm glad. Honestly, like obviously you don't want your team to be bad because that's just like a weird person, like a masochist. Like that's not real life. Okay, before I use that word, I should make sure it means what I think it means.
Yeah, you said it. And
okay,
I was like,
that is not the word that I thought it meant. You don't have to cut that out, but that is not what I thought. Okay, likes pain, because that means in a
sadist.
I know what
you're talking about. A sadist, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh wait, no, wait. Okay. Masochist in a non-sexual way. Anyway.
Yeah.
Just cut all this. This is terrible.
Okay.
You don't have to. It's funny. I don't know.
I might just leave it in.
But I don't want to see the team be bad, but I'm glad to see all these randos leave me alone and not pretend, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, if I show you a picture of number 59 in the 2007 season for the Patriots, you don't know who it is, get out.
Did you say 59 in a 2007?
59 during the 2007 season.
59.
I just picked a random person. Like it's
okay.
Roosevelt Colvin, outside linebacker, opposite of Dalius Thomas.
I would have guessed. I would have guessed Teddy Bruschi.
54.
54. Okay.
But like you don't claim to be a Patriots. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like who is the starting running back for the Patriots when they won the first 3 Super Bowls? People don't know stuff like that because they're bandwagons.
Yeah.
Beside the point, getting off this soapbox, getting back to where we started.
Yeah. My next question was because I was bringing up the Broncos.
Yeah.
I kind of entered this season paying more attention to the NFL than I have in years past, but I didn't really ride with my team that I wanted to root for, which is the Denver Broncos, just because they've been my team since I was young. Just because their season kind of collapsed before it even started, with losing Cortland Sutton and Von Miller, and also just not really having a solidified option at quarterback. But this game, I at least I hear from people they played pretty well, and they seem like at least a competent team right now. What's your opinion, and should I be paying more attention to the Broncos?
I think it's good for everyone to have a team. If you're saying, like, should I pay attention to them to be, like, a sleeper? No. They're bad.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't know. Like, I think that, like, they're worth paying attention to. It's not like when they're such a bad team, you're like, wow. Do Cardinals, like, a couple years ago, did Cardinals fan even watch Cardinals games? Like, they're not that bad.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah.
That makes sense. But yeah, hopefully they get at least competitive here in the not so distant future, so I can pay attention to them with a bit more passion and gusto. Yeah. But yeah, so my next question was about another game. It was the Battle of the Bays. What happened with the Tampa Bay versus Green Bay game, and how major of an upset was that?
It wasn't, because Green Bay's overhyped every year, and they'll never not be overhyped. They're the Texas of the... Okay, let me rephrase. How do I put that? Because they're actually good sometimes. Like last year, Green Bay was the worst 13-win team in the history of the NFL. Like, I am not on the Green Bay bandwagon. And if I was still in high school, my friend Parker Moore would be beating the crap out of me. But it's okay, because he doesn't know where I'm at. He wouldn't actually beat me up. Anyway, besides the point, like, I think that, like, the Packers have a lot more problems, and it's because, and this is a take that I had. This was a good week for old dudes at quarterback and a really bad week for old dudes at quarterback. Because Aaron Rodgers looked bad. Like, he did not, and everybody's like, he doesn't have receivers. Okay, you're right, he doesn't, but Green Bay built a bad team. That's like, if he wants that much money, he's going to have to ball out. Yeah. I think it almost, this is borderline hot take. I don't actually mean it, but, like, it's just something to consider if the trend continues. Did Aaron Rodgers find the cliff before Tom Brady? And when I talk about the cliff, like that cliff that they claim people fall off of, like, oh, is this the cliff? Did they finally find where they're going to drop off?
Yeah.
Because he alone didn't look bad. His team's bad around him. So I'm not trying to, like, pin that loss on Aaron Rodgers' shoulders. But, like, if he's getting paid to carry a team, he's got to carry the team. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he can't walk the walk, you got to talk the talk type of thing. Yeah. And like I said, he wasn't bad. Inherently type of thing. Like 16 for 35, that's bad. 45% completion percentage, that's atrocious for him. But 2 picks, 160 yards. And the reason I'm saying he didn't look bad because stat-wise he looked terrible. Like, his receivers are bad. It's just, Green Bay's a way bigger problem. They're not overhyped, but that Tampa Bay team that came out to play. And speaking of Tampa Bay, you know what they've had in just the heart of their defense the whole time they've been in the past, since 2010?
Is that good old Levante David?
The greatest one of the best middle linebackers in the NFL. Not even gonna lie. And I think I've talked about this on the show before, but Levante David was never in a big market, never on good teams, but he was always just an absolute GOAT. Like, if you look at Levante David, like his accolades, he's only made the Pro Bowl one time. A single time he's made the Pro Bowl. But, like, if you look at what he's done, he matches up with, like, some of the greats at linebacker. Like, Brian Urlacher, Ray Lewis, Luke Kuechly. Kuechly's in a little bit of a different tier, but, like if you look at, I'm going to go find the tweet again and keep talking, but, like, you go through these stats. I think, I know I texted it to you, and I might have already talked about it, so I'm just being redundant. But for those that haven't heard this, it's actually a wild stat. Like, how good Levante David really is as a player. And I'm so glad that Brady and Gronk went there. Not because they left the Patriots, but because, like, he's finally getting recognized for being an outstanding middle linebacker, because he absolutely is one.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I hear that quite a bit, especially this season, just because I think they're getting more attention. But
yeah, so through the first 122 NFL games of these NFL middle linebackers' career, tackles: Levante David 1,019, Brian Urlacher 1,007. Tackles for loss: Levante David 118, Luke Kuechly 79. Forced fumbles: 21 for Levante David, only 11 for Ray Lewis. Sacks: 22.5 for Levante David, 21 for Ray Lewis. Like, those are stats of guys that are, like, legit. And it's like, but, like, Ray Lewis came onto the scene and was good. It's not like he had to ramp up and got better as he aged. He was always just good. Yeah. So I am super pumped in Tampa Bay for Levante David to finally be getting his recognition. And Sue's down there too, so that's a lot of fun. And Sue is treating Aaron Rodgers like Colt McCoy. It was just I was giddy. I was a little schoolgirl. It was a great experience.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Tampa Bay is a fun team to root for, especially for Nebraska fans, just because they have David and Sue there.
Yeah.
But yeah. So that was, but I heard stuff about that game that it was unexpected, at least.
Okay, unexpected the sheer amount.
Okay.
I thought Tampa Bay was going to win because I think Green Bay's overhyped. I did not think that they would score 38 unanswered. Like, I didn't anticipate that level of domination. So I guess if that's what you're getting at, yeah, like that part of it was unexpected. But I thought it'd be like a high-scoring shootout, and the Bucks would win by like 3 or like a scoreline I would have expected would have been like 35-38 or 35-41. You know what I mean? Like a higher scoring game, getting over that 70 over-under type of thing. But I was not anticipating, like, it was ugly.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
I was just going to ask if you had any other week 6 thoughts.
I got a couple things. I literally didn't know what else to write down, so I just wrote down Derrick frickin' Henry.
Yeah.
He's a man's man. 212 yards on 22 attempts. Fun fact, if you can't do math, that's just under 10 yards per carry. That's a little gross. Okay, so they went to overtime, and I really would have liked to see the Titans go, you know what? We are literally built to, we are the best built team to go for 2. We have Derrick Henry. We have a run-based offensive line. They did lose Taylor Lewan, which I think is for the season, which sucks for them, but they're still a very good team. And if we ever do an NFL tier list, they will be very high on the AFC on my side. Anyway, back to the thing. Derrick Henry's goated. Big dude. I think that he might, honestly, he had kind of a down game the week before this week. But I honestly think that he might get in the zone of that 2,000 rushing yards. Obviously, he had 220, whatever I said, but those are things. The other takeaway, the Vikings are maybe one of the worst teams I've ever seen. They're Jets level bad. We know the Falcons are bad, and they played better than normal. The Falcons are a bad team. That is how terrible the Vikings are. Absolutely atrocious. Josh Allen and the Bills, it was a little bit scary to see them struggle against another top echelon AFC team. Because for the AFC East, wanting to see the AFC East be decent, that does not look like it'll be the case unless New England figures something out. Because I get they're a young team, but you want to see them figure it out a little bit better than that. I talked about this a little bit. It was a good weekend for old guys. Ben Roethlisberger's stats weren't crazy, but he played well and didn't ruin the game for his team, and they won 38 to something wild, 38-7. They just destroyed the Browns. So that was good for old guy quarterbacks. Phillip Rivers came back against the Bengals. Also a young team that they came back against, but it doesn't matter. And then the Cowboys. Oof.
Yeah.
R.I.P. the Cowboys. They looked terrible. And not only that, I saw a tweet, and I was like, this is a great tweet. And it said, it was 2 categories. It said guys that got paid and guys that contribute. And it was guys that got paid was Jalen Smith and Ezekiel Elliott. And then guys that contribute was Dak Prescott and somebody else that I can't remember. But these are guys that didn't get paid that are gone. And I was like, that's a really good tweet. It's true. They paid Ezekiel Elliott and he looked terrible. They paid Jalen Smith, who's the heart of that defense, and he looked terrible. Anyway. And then also, this is another thing to pay attention to in Dallas. Players, not on the record, the names weren't attached to these comments, but they said a couple things. They said, the coaches don't know what they're doing, and they're just straight up bad at their jobs. You have players saying that about coaches.
Wow.
It's happened twice this season, and that's something you've almost never seen before.
Yeah.
It happened in Houston with Bill O'Brien. It was a player uprising. And the Cowboys, it looks like they're going to have something similar. And it's just, oof. If I'm a Cowboys fan, hunker down for the next 5 years of saying next year's our year, but you're not even going to make the playoffs. It's ugly. That NFC East is ugly. Capital ugly. Philly, terrible. The only reason Philly was in that game was because of a bogus pass interference call. I texted our friend that's an Eagles fan, and he goes, oh, it's all right. Oh, it'll happen. Oh, it don't matter. I'm like, dude, if that would have been the Ravens getting away with that, you would have lost your brains. Anyway.
For the podcast lore, you should probably mention his name.
Oh, yeah, Anthony.
Anthony.
Yeah, that was Anthony, sorry. I feel like I always crap on Anthony. We'll have to have him on an episode sometime to defend himself, and he can come at me, because I also have some boosted takes, but I'd be sure to reserve them or label them in a fun segment, so I can defend myself a little bit. But yeah, those are all the quick takes I had. Oh, the Chiefs, I talked about how the Bills look bad. The Chiefs, they did this last year too, where they look kind of sketchy sometimes. But the Chiefs scare me a little bit as if I were a betting man, I'd be worried if I had money on the Chiefs. Just because sometimes they just don't perform how I would like them to, because I know how good of a team they could be potentially. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, that's all I had for the NFL.
Awesome. So like you were mentioning just before with Anthony and his hot takes versus how you handle your hot takes, I know that we have this segment that we're adding to our show, adding to the podcast lore of hot takes with Jacob.
Yeah.
We've done, I think, one, right?
One.
So far?
Yeah, just one.
Just one. Were you wanting to jump into that now, or did you want to save that for the end?
I can do it now. Let's do it at the end. It'll be like a nice little button-up thing.
Yeah.
Let's do it at the end.
Okay, that works. So I guess before we move on from football, I should mention that this is the last episode before Nebraska football officially
goes
starts.
1-0.
Yep.
Get ready, Ohio State. Adrian Martinez and Luke McCaffrey are about to quarterback by committee you to death. Get your popcorn ready, ladies and gentlemen. 11 a.m. kickoff in the Horseshoe. Let's go. Football's back, baby.
Yeah.
And NFL football's been back, but for those of you that aren't, college football's back for me. It has been back. Also, I've started watching more for this podcast. On Saturdays, usually I'd get ready for NFL stuff. I've started paying a lot more attention to college stuff, so we can have college football stuff on here. College football talk. And just shout out to Clemson for being absolutely 99 overall team playing on rookie in Madden. They were destroying people. Anyway, Nebraska's coming back. I think the score for that game is going to be Ohio State 54, Nebraska 46. Backwards. Nebraska 54. No, Nebraska 56, because we're about to drop 6 touchdowns on their head. Or 8 touchdowns. I can't do math. 8 touchdowns on their head. And then it'll be Ohio State, good old 35. We're going to roll them. They ain't ready.
You sure you didn't want to put that in hot takes with Jacob?
I could, but you know what? I'm confident. Go Big Red. Hashtag GBR. If you know. Hold on. What's that hashtag? IFYKY. If you know, you know.
Oh.
I'm not going to say that. Anyway. If you know, you know. Go Big Red. It's going to be a great game. It's not, but I'm going to hope it is. And even if we get blown out, you know what I'm going to be thrilled to see?
What?
Just the Scarlet and Cream. Just out there doing literally anything.
Yeah.
I'm going to see Cade Warner hopefully not take plays off and be a bum. And there's been good things. He was named a captain. I'm going to get to see my boy Hymus. I'm going to see Martinez. Hopefully we get to see a little bit of McCaffrey. Omar Manning. I don't think we'll see a whole lot of Xavier Betts. It's just going to be a great day to be a Husker. 5 more days till kickoff. I'm just all sorts of revved up and ready to go.
Yeah.
Sorry, we can. Yeah.
No, yeah, that was good. Good to add some college football to this.
Passion.
Also some passion. Stuff that anybody in Nebraska can get behind, except for those immigrants, the immigrants from Oklahoma and Iowa and places like that.
The traitors.
Yeah. But anyway, so we'll jump sports now to basketball, and we're going to be talking about some GOAT conversation that we didn't really get to last week, because if you were listening to last episode, we did kind of go over on time for what we had planned, and then also our connection was really, really spotty towards the end, which it's better this week. Not perfect, at least on my end, but it's much better. We should be able to have a coherent conversation. But so as far as GOAT talk goes, I just wanted to mention, obviously the Lakers won the NBA Finals last Sunday evening, and we didn't really talk a ton about that last episode, but we did touch on it a bit. But yeah, they were my pick from the beginning of the season, really. I was rooting against them for most of the playoffs, even though they were my pick to win, just because I usually like to pick logically, or what I think is the most likely to happen. Those are usually my picks. It's less so about what I want to happen. But
pick logically and dream big. We need to make a T-shirt. That's the new official Next Man Up podcast slogan.
Yeah, that would be a good one.
Think logically and dream big.
Yep. Yeah, so when they were going against the Nuggets, obviously I was pretty mad and kind of cheering against LeBron for most of the playoffs, and kind of getting really annoyed with him. Even though, like I said last episode, I do not consider myself a LeBron hater at all, and I'm not a LeBron stan by any means. I do have some people that I know that are fit into one of those categories. But yeah, I'm pretty neutral when it comes to him. Like we talked a lot about it last episode where we kind of broke it down. Like, you know, Jacob and I like to kind of be onlookers of his greatness and enjoy it while it lasts, instead of dreading his existence while he's in the in the league.
Because it's not going to be forever type of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but. So yeah, but you know, by the end of the final buzzer in Game 6 of the NBA Finals, I did come to terms more so with, like, you know, LeBron's LeBron. He did deserve that Finals MVP for sure. He just played one of the greatest, I think, final series that he ever has consistently. I would say you put 2016 number one. Just because those 3 straight games in a row to come back from 3-1, he was an animal all over the court. But this was, I think, you would put it second, and in terms of how good his finals performance was.
How he individually performed, 100%.
Yeah, over the whole series. So, yeah, and you know, a lot of people, it raised the discussion for many people, many talk show hosts, many people in bars, many people all over the place, just talking about who's the greatest to ever do it, and. You know, many people are kind of saying that this puts LeBron either into that conversation more so, or even surpasses Jordan in some people's books, in some people's minds. But I just wanted to break that down here with my friend Jacob and talk a little bit about that. Jacob, I guess, what are your initial thoughts or ideas when it comes to that proposition?
Okay, so initially, I put LeBron in my top 3, but not my, like, GOAT conversation before this season. Like, going back before this season started, like, in my head, I would always have LeBron be one of, like, maybe if he's in the GOAT conversation, it's on the bottom half of it. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like, I didn't have him as the GOAT or even as the second. Like, I had him up there, but not up there. And that's just because, like, he did do it, like, the Cleveland one did a lot.
Yeah.
Like, in Miami, none of those, like, granted, I was I was just getting into basketball, but, like, in Miami, those counted because they're championships, but I didn't hold them with the same weight I hold as Cleveland one, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure.
And so, going into this year, I was like, okay, if he wins this one, okay, like, for me now, he is in the conversation for being the greatest of all time. He's not, but he's, like, his case is built better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, next, and everybody's always going to say, oh, you're just saying that because you don't want him to pass him. No. If he wins it consecutively again next year, I think he has a genuine, like, debate. Because the biggest thing for me, and I think Magic Johnson's the one who I heard say it on some show somewhere on ESPN, said the consecutive championships mean a lot. Because that's extended greatness. That's not just... oh, you're great, but your team didn't read. Like, that's extended great. You know what I mean? Jordan winning 6 would be cool. Bill Russell won whatever. Like that's cool, but, like, the fact that Jordan won 3 and then 3, like, that's huge.
Yeah.
Like, that's a big part of what makes his, like, myth so mythical type of thing.
Yeah. For sure.
But no, so right now I've got, like, I think MJ's the GOAT. But I think that LeBron has slowly started walking into the same. If it was a tier list, LeBron's, like, he's getting close. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the tier list thing, because more and more, you know, that I keep hearing discussions and engaging in discussions like this, I'm starting to think more and more that we need kind of to break this down in more of a tier list. Like, I've heard the metaphor or the analogy of doing a Mount Rushmore, of having, you know, you look at it as the 4 greatest of all time, each of them in separate like eras. They're all in different generations. And Bill Simmons did a thing on his podcast where he broke down, like, how many top 3 MVP finalists you had. And added all those up. Like, one was worth, like, if you finished first, that was worth 8 points. Second place was worth 4, and 3 was worth 2. And you add all those up over everybody's career, and the clear top 4, and they're, like, on a hill above anybody else in history, are Jordan, LeBron, Kareem, and Bill Russell.
Yep. And Kareem's I guess I never said Kareem was always my 2 in my head.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was like MJ, Kareem, because of the sheer like
longevity
and size of his. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Of his career, and then LeBron was 3, and then Bill Russell. I always feel like I'm too because I'm a Boston guy, but anyway, the
True.
Bill Simmons thing.
Yeah. No, yeah, but I really liked that, breaking it down like that. I have my personal, opinion on who I would take out of those 4, and that is Michael Jordan, just because he has the least amount of blemishes on his career, and also when I'm presented with this question of like who the GOAT is, my first instinct is to go with who was the greatest to ever do it at their peak. Like, longevity matters. Like, he has to be able to do it over a certain time span. But I think he did it over a long enough time span to which it was like, that's how good of a dude he was. But the level that he reached, I think, is just almost, to me, unarguably higher than anybody else. The stratosphere that he reached as an individual player.
But we were talking about during this final series how wild Jimmy Butler was. But, like, that's just who MJ was. Like, that's just what he did.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we talked about, think how crazy the stretch is. Oh, imagine if he continues doing this. That's literally just what Michael Jordan did on a day in and day out basis.
Yeah. Do you know, I'm just going to ask you this question. Do you know what the lowest scoring game Jordan ever had in the finals was?
No.
It was 22 points.
Oh my good. That's not that crazy high for someone that like doesn't, but like
for the lowest, that's insane.
And it's not that he didn't play in enough of them.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
he was there quite frequently.
Yep, he was there 6 different years, so that's a good handful of games. Yeah, and LeBron, obviously, I don't want to just compare them scoring-wise because LeBron has other pieces to his game.
And does a lot different.
Yeah. But, LeBron has that huge blemish on his finals career in the 2011 series where he really was a non-factor.
The whole series.
Mm-hmm, scored,
not just, like, games.
Yeah, I mean, he had an 8-point game. I think he ended up averaging, like, 17 or 18 points that game, which isn't awful, if you look at just any player. But the level of greatness that you're expecting out of a player like him and how defensively at the time was considered, one of the top 5 defenders in the world and was getting blown by repeatedly by Jason Terry and could not score again and post up against JJ Barea and Jason Terry were his primary defenders for a lot of that series. He just really collapsed under pressure. And I'm not saying that, you can't be one of the greatest ever and have that.
Have a bad,
because I do think he is. But I think the fact that Jordan has nothing really to point to like that, other than the only thing I could see is 95. Yeah, is 95 when he came back, about with like 15 games left in the season, and got knocked out in the second round by Shaq and Penny Hardaway. With the Orlando Magic. I think he gets excused for that a lot because, individually he had a great series. He had a really good series. And the Bulls were pretty awful that season around him. That was before they landed Dennis Rodman and Ron Harper, I believe, too. That was when they were pretty depleted. I think they just got Steve Kerr. But really all they had left was Scottie Pippen and Steve Kerr with Jordan, and that was before they got that Dennis Rodman piece, which is really what put him over the top. With that first three-peat, they had Horace Grant, who filled that role of like the energizer. And when they lost him, and he played for the other team, he was on the Magic in that series. Horace Grant was. So, yeah, when you look at it like that, the team around him was pretty awful, and he did have a really good individual series. But people just kind of look at that as like, he did get knocked out. So I understand that as a blemish, but I feel like it's not as significant, at least in my opinion, than the 2011 finals collapse, just because every single series that the Chicago Bulls were favored in, they won with Michael Jordan. They never lost a series that they were the team that was supposed to win. And they were the team that was supposed to win because of how good Michael Jordan was, but they never disappointed.
Mm-hmm.
They faced, I think they were the 2 seed, Orlando Magic, and Chicago was the 5th seed that year. Yeah, I think that's right. No, that wouldn't work.
I'll look it up.
It was something, I'm pretty sure Orlando was the higher seed, but yeah. So, and entering finals, it was just always that way. Like, the Heat have lost 2 finals with LeBron that they were supposed to win in 2014 and 2011. I don't consider the 2007 finals as a blemish on LeBron James' career. I consider that a high point, just because even though they got swept in the finals, the fact that he got that Cavs team to the finals in the first place to face the Spurs was just like a miracle. So I don't count that against him. It's not just the fact that you lose. It has to do with all the circumstances behind why you lost, But did you find the seeding?
I'm trying to find which seeds they were. They lost in the second round.
Yep, to Orlando in 1995.
Yep. In 6 games. I'm trying to see. It's not giving. 5 seed and 1 seed.
Orlando was the 1 seed. Oh, wow. Even better than I thought. Yeah. So, yeah. I guess that's just a little bit of I don't want to turn this into just like trashing on LeBron, because I feel like that's what it has been the past
forever.
Yeah, because like,
and it's
keep going.
I think a big part of that is because like people jumped saying LeBron was the GOAT after his Miami championships. Like, and if you're a guy that watched Michael Jordan play, you're gonna be like if you're invested in like sports and they're gonna be like, you're crazy.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Michael Jordan's just a different breed.
Yeah.
But like as LeBron continues to do stuff, he's building his case, and he said the whole thing about chasing the ghost in Chicago. Like, I don't think he's caught him, but he's catching up, and I think that's the biggest reason why. 2 reasons. Everybody hates on greatness all the time, but there's social media now. So you see a lot more of it. Yeah. Like with the whole LeBron thing. And another reason I think that people put him in the GOAT conversation too early, so that made it a lot more like aggressive and passionate about it. And then those are the 2 things. There's no third thing.
Yeah, that makes sense. And with me, I feel like one of the main reasons why I kind of end up almost trashing or nitpicking and trying to find things, with LeBron that I'm like, see, like that didn't happen to Jordan, is just because I really am like, I really do believe that Jordan is the GOAT to me. And to be able to explain to people why I think that, I have to point out like the flaws and things that I see in LeBron. But I feel like for a long time it's been too negative that I've done that. And I want to come to a place where it's much more of like, it's okay if you think LeBron's the greatest. There's plenty of reasons for you to think that. And one
now
of them,
there is.
Yeah. And one of them is longevity. He has the best, aside from Kareem, unarguably the best longevity of any superstar in NBA history.
Yes.
And
like what he's been able to do for so long.
He's arguably in that place with Kareem. Like even some people would put him over, just because the reason why I hesitate to do that is just because, Kareem was 4 years older than LeBron in year 17.
Yeah.
Kareem was the greatest college basketball player of all time. He won 3 national championships in 4 years. And still, with being a college grad, was able to play like 20 seasons in the NBA and be an 18-time All-Star. That's ridiculous. But yeah, so with LeBron though, I won't necessarily disagree with anybody because they choose him as their GOAT, just because it really ends up on what your criteria is. I could see, shifting around what matters to you most in your criteria for the GOAT, how you could end up with LeBron being the greatest of all time. So that's just a level that he's reached, and this Lakers championship definitely elevated that. But I think I would definitely put him second if he retired today. I'd put him second on my list of the greatest of all time, with Kareem third.
Next year, if he and I'm different from you. I still have Kareem. Like, LeBron's made a genuine point for third now. You know what I mean? It's not just like, but if next year if he wins, he jumps to second and arguably first, depending on how much he affects that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if LeBron does again, and I was rooting against LeBron until he had that 40-point game in the Nuggets series, or the near 40-point game.
Yeah, I think it was 40. Yeah, I think
like, he had that crazy game in the Nuggets series where, like, the rest of his team was terrible, but he did not care.
Yeah.
It was like 26 points in the first half, and I'm like, you can't hate that. You know what I mean? Like, that's just being good. And he wasn't like, people complain about his play style and how, he's just good because he's bigger and stronger. Well, yeah, he uses his advantages. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, that's when this year it flipped for me. But I've still got him 3. But like that Mount Rushmore, he's on my Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I think, but if he wins it again next year and means as much as that Lakers team next year as he did this year, which I see no reason why he wouldn't. I just yeah. He takes it, and then if he does it again, that's when I'm getting into like passing MJ conversations. You know what I mean? Because it's that consecutive and everybody's like, well, LeBron went to the finals and all these things. I saw this was I can't remember where I saw it, and I can't remember who, and I feel terrible. But comparing MJ and LeBron with their finals records is a flawed problem because Michael's biggest adversary was in the East with him. So if he got there, then it was easy sailing. But for LeBron, his biggest adversary has always been in the West. But now that he's in the West, I'm sure his finals championship percentage will go up. I just think it will.
Yeah, probably.
Because if he gets to the championship, so you can't just go straight finals record.
Yeah. I agree.
It's just because of what they needed to beat. Type of thing.
Another reason why I think it is flawed is because it's hard to compare across eras.
Yes.
And the reason why I say that is because back then, you didn't see stars move really. So it was like in free agency and off seasons, you saw role players being moved around and stuff like that. Constructing your rosters. But if you were like the core of your team, one of the building blocks of your team, you normally stayed there for a long time, and so there was a lot of like this. That's why there were such intense rivalries, because it was the same rosters going at each other year after year after year. And so this Pistons dynasty stayed together with their essential core for so long, and this Bulls dynasty that was being built up from the ground up, like through the draft, was on the up and up, and what met them basically as they're at Detroit's peak. They were the best team in the NBA at the time. And so he couldn't get over the hump for a few seasons in a row, and then finally did, while Detroit, like, mind you, was still as good as they were the previous season. In 91, they were as good as the 89 and 90, the bad boy Pistons. They had everybody, and they weren't aging out. Isaiah Thomas was only 31. Joe Dumars was like 28. Like, they were all in their prime. The Chicago Bulls ended what could have been a Pistons dynasty.
A legitimate wild dynasty.
Yeah. And so then, the Bulls, after he got over the hump, though, Michael Jordan has only lost one playoff series, and that was in 1995 against the Orlando Magic. That's just a crazy thing to think about.
Yeah.
He retired on top. He was age 35 in 1998, won the MVP, led the league in scoring, and won the Finals MVP on a last-second shot in Game 6 to win the NBA title, and just retired. Like, that's just ridiculous. And also, I'm pretty sure he's one of very few, I think there's only like 2 or 3 other ones, we can also look at this sometime, but of players to lead the league in scoring and also win the title. That doesn't happen usually, just because the guy who leads the league in scoring is usually on a team that doesn't have much help around him. But Jordan was like, I'm going to score more than everybody, and I'm on a really good team.
Yeah, it was...
Yeah.
It's wild. It's wild.
So, I don't like. I guess I just don't like the disrespect to Jordan sometimes from LeBron fans saying like.
And as you were talking, I was like, man, I don't know if I've ever like talked positively about LeBron for this long.
Yeah.
And been like a defender, but it just with any sports thing, the side that you're not on, you're gonna get aggressive for your side.
True.
And
true.
so like, don't trash on what Michael Jordan did, and don't trash on what LeBron's doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
that's a place I want to get to for sure. Yeah,
like it's just, and this is a thing that I don't think is across all sports. Greatness is not valued enough until too late. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
I'm sure that like Michael Jordan will be like 70, and then people will finally be like, man, like not Michael Jordan, LeBron will have to be like 70. And then everybody will be like, man, he was a baller. Like, he was really, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, people just, yeah.
Yeah.
And outside of Pistons players, people know that MJ was the GOAT. Everybody else will be like, he's not the best. Isaiah Thomas is the greatest player of all time.
Thomas.
But that's some hot takes. Anyway.
Yeah.
That was good GOAT talk.
No, yeah, it was. I guess I have just one more thing to say about it, which was, like, getting back to, like, the longevity thing. You know, a thing I hear a lot from talk show hosts that I feel like I just get so mad every time they bring it up. Again, I'm not trying to trash on LeBron or anything. I don't feel like I am when I say this, but they say like, obviously LeBron's going to destroy Jordan all time in like all the counting like all the stats. He's going to be on all the leaderboards, destroying Jordan. And it's kind of like, why does that really? I don't know. You have to like think about it. Like, how many seasons did he play, you know? And it's not like Jordan couldn't have played more seasons. That's obvious to everybody that he could have played way more seasons than he did. It's just the way he decided to do it. And there's going to be a few stats that LeBron's never going to catch him, like 40-point games. You know how many 40-point games Michael Jordan has scored in his career?
I'll go look, but I don't know.
It's 173.
Oh.
I
know the number.
The person in second is Kobe Bryant with 122. Wilt Chamberlain has 89 in third, and all the way, like, I don't want to say all the way like LeBron, you know, not good, or he's a phenomenal player. I put him second all time. He has somewhere in the 60s. He was at 61 at the start of the 2019 season. So I don't know what it is now, but yeah. It's like that's something that's untouchable. So, total points, he's going to beat him for sure just because of how many games he plays. But when you're looking at like those nights that he had crazy, like I looked at a stat that was like how Michael Jordan has the longest streak of double-digit games in NBA history with 866.
Oh my.
That's how many times in a row he scored in double figures. He had 13 total career games where he didn't score at least double digits, and he had 5 games where he scored over 60. And it's I can't remember how many 50s, but it was like somewhere in the 20s. I guess I can look right now.
Yeah.
31. He had 31 50-point games and 13 below 10. Like, it's crazy that he scored over 50, like, almost 3 times as many times as he didn't score in double figures.
That's, yeah.
There's just, certain legends, like, that's just, like, legacy.
Part of the legend.
Yeah.
100%.
But, LeBron, he, in his own right, has, he's probably going to end up with the most points in NBA history, be towards the top in assists and rebounds. He's like the player, if you would take Karl Malone, just the body of Karl Malone, and give him like the passing and court vision ability of Magic Johnson, and then added like the post up and turn around.
The family values of John Stockton.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I'm sorry. No, that's another thing. Like, this isn't like a basketball talk, but like, if you like look at LeBron's career, like in terms of how they will LeBron's just like, I don't know him as a person, obviously. He just seems like a good dude. There's no like scandals about like having multiple wives. No kid scandals. He's a good dad from what you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, that's
Like,
really fair. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
like, but and that's why everybody's like, oh, the dads always like are better than the sons. If you look, this next generation of NBA like Melo's kid and LeBron's kid and D Wade's kid, I think they will be better than like the 90s. You know what I'm talking about? Like,
Yeah, they're the '90s players' kids. Yeah.
because the dads are like investing in their kids like you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like if the kid wants to play basketball, yeah. Anyway, that's getting on a weird little thing that we
Yeah.
can talk about.
But, you know,
in a different
there's-
off-season NBA episode.
There's a lot of sons that have surpassed their fathers too, like Kobe and Steph and Clay. And people like that. But yeah, I see what you're saying. It's like if your dad was a superstar, you're typically not. And if your
Yeah.
dad wasn't a superstar, you're typically like, it's weird. It's kind of backwards.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess that should conclude our GOAT talk, other than LeBron, Jordan, Kareem, Bill Russell, I think are all valid guys to put at number one. Wilt has, the oodles of stats.
Legend. He has the legend as well.
Yeah. All of them have their faults and stuff like that, but yeah, it is a subjective thing. But LeBron should have, I think with this, should have earned more discussions with this, but I don't think it should be like a closed case, like so many people treat it.
Yeah.
So that was our Week 6 NFL talk and the GOAT debate in the NBA and our takes on that. Just a couple things really quick. Hopefully we weren't too hard on LeBron. I know that we were making the point of, talking about how there is too much LeBron negativity over really the past decade or so that this discussion is being held between these two guys of Jordan and LeBron. That just kind of happens when you're trying to defend one side, and so you have to kind of attack the other one. But yeah, I guess I'm kind of advocating for, like, I can give my takes, I can give my little reasons why I see these advantages that Jordan has over LeBron, but I'd like to get to a point, like, and I think I'm much closer there than a lot of people, but also much closer there than I have been in the past, of, pointing out the things that, like, honestly, pointing out the things that LeBron has over Jordan. And, that's definitely in longevity and really just being the more all-around player in terms of skill set. That's for sure. Jordan's thing that he has is he's an elite. He's a very elite scorer, the most elite scorer the league has ever seen, or at least as elite as any scorer the league has ever seen. And he has that skill that is it's elevated by his decision making in passing the ball to the open man, making the right play when he needs to, and having that playmaking ability that really gets elevated by how good of a scorer he is, because teams have to key in on him so much. That's why you see like John Paxson hitting game winners for the Bulls in the playoffs. Steve Kerr had that big game winner to win the title one year against the Jazz. I think it was 97. I might be wrong on that. Maybe it was Seattle in 96, but I'm pretty sure it was 97. But yeah, like that's how you get shots like that. Steve Kerr was completely wide open, because, yeah, I'm pretty sure it was the Jazz, because Stockton helped off of him to come over to deny a shot from Jordan. And that's where you get plays like that. Obviously, LeBron is a savant level passer, a savant level playmaker, much better playmaker, I would say. LeBron is like an elite level playmaker without needing the scoring threat to be able to be that kind of a table setter. Like, he can initiate an offense just through being like a pure point guard in a way, kind of like a Magic Johnson. Who's to say Jordan, how good Jordan would be if that was his role? But We've never really seen Jordan play a role like that. He's always been the offensive engine, scoring engine of his team, and you get shots created out of that. Scottie Pippen was a lot more of the facilitator on that team, as is definitely highlighted in like The Last Dance and stuff. But yeah, LeBron's definitely the greatest player of this generation. This century, and arguably the greatest to ever do it. I will vehemently say arguably, like, that he does have a case, like, for sure. It really depends on your criteria, like we were saying. I also wanted to bring up something that I was just saying about Kareem. Sometimes when I get into the heat of things I'm bringing up, I throw out, like facts and things that I know I've read before, but I can't remember the exact details. And so sometimes I'll say it the way I remember it and hope that I'm right. Usually it's not too far off. If I'm really unsure about it, then I'm like, yeah, I'm probably just not going to bring it up, or I want to fact check it right there. But I couldn't remember. I knew that Kareem won 3 NCAA titles. I didn't know how many years he was in college. I didn't know if he went for 3 or 4. Turns out he did go for 3, so he won 3 in 3 years. So yeah, I don't know if you can. Like, I still probably call him the greatest college player ever, and a lot of people do. But it is kind of weird that you're calling somebody the best college basketball player ever when they didn't play all 4 years. But I guess that's beside the point. But yeah, definitely tune in to the next episode, which, like I said, will be coming out within the next day or a few days, probably. I'm not sure exactly. I've spent a lot of time on this one. Haven't had a lot of time to spend on this one, to be honest. So I think I'm just gonna upload this to Spotify right away. I don't want to. I should go to bed. I don't. I don't want to deal with making the thumbnail and everything for YouTube right now. But this will go up on YouTube very soon as well. I'm honestly tempted to just move this to Spotify full time, just because I don't want to deal with the YouTube stuff. But that is where I think most of our subscribers is on YouTube, and that's the best way to get feedback too, is on YouTube, through the comments and everything. So we probably should continue it that way. Hopefully I just haven't had time the past week, really. I just got a new puppy, so haven't had a lot of time on my hands to do other things right now with work and that, and then also hobbies now. So with this, but yeah, next episode we will go over the way too early power rankings, which I think next episode is going to be like almost 2 hours long. So it's going to be a banger of an episode. We're going to go through, each of us are going to go through all 30 teams. I gave a pretty lengthy, little notes and things to talk about with each team, the reasons why I ranked them where they were. But yeah, I guess I'll get more into that next episode. I'll probably record a little bit of an intro and outro for that as well. Maybe not an outro, but because there is a outro that we do kind of say in the recording there at the end, because it was intended to be the natural ending of this episode, as being one. But yeah, be looking out for that. I think I really am excited for that episode drop. I like the content that went into that one. It was a lot of fun. I think we'll be having our friend Anthony, the guy that keeps getting brought up on this podcast. I think we'll be having him join us for an episode. It's rumored. I'm not 100%, but don't even know what we're going to be talking about yet. But we'll go over it. Probably record that early next week, probably Monday or Tuesday. But yeah, so be looking forward to that as well. We have a lot of stuff coming, in terms of just things to be looking out for, listening out for. But yeah, as always, thank you guys for listening. Like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. Give us mailbag questions to do a segment over. just pile them up. You could do more than one, honestly. Just give us stuff to talk about, just because that'd be fun. Instead of just having the questions for me to Jacob and questions from Jacob to me, some questions from somebody else for both of us to react to at the same time, would be fun. But yeah. So yeah, like I said, thank you guys for listening, and we will talk to you guys next episode.